What's going on, guys? My name is Dan Weikart, Vice President and co-founder of BAP, and today we're going to talk about the recent release of Elemental, Disney Pixar's latest addition to their cinematic repertoire. Perfect. Welcome back, guys. Thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already, please follow us on Rumble, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter if you're viewing this on either of those platforms. And once we get to the end of the video, if you like them, by all means, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, all that on those whatever platform you happen to be watching us on. So, if you weren't aware, Elemental, the latest release by Disney Pixar, has released today, and it's set up to be the second lowest performing movie Pixar has ever put out, and there's a lot of hay being made about why that is. So, to get into it, before we even get to the controversial elements, to get into it, this is a pure marketing thing. At least the lion's share of its failure is a marketing drop. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I'm sure many of my conservative friends have looked around on the internet and saw a bunch of individuals who are like hemming and hawing about some of the controversial elements I'll certainly get into. But let's be honest. I'm a normal person. I go to stores. I listen to the radio, watch YouTube and other Netflix and all these other things. I don't have Disney Plus, so maybe they advertised on Disney Plus. I had no idea this movie was releasing. No clue. Didn't see any advertisements for it. None of that. And no clue. So when I saw that it had appeared, it just said, okay, seems to cool. A movie has popped up. So first and foremost, it's a marketing failure because nobody heard about it. I didn't know it was a thing. None of the people that I know, and I have kids. Like I have a 2-year-old and I have an 8-month-old. I had no clue that this movie was coming out. And a lot of people didn't. And so ultimately, that is probably why the movie is flopping, because it had zero marketing as far as I can tell. Now, within that, though, there are controversial elements that the movie addresses. Namely, the movie purports to have Disney's first non-binary character, and the movie deals pretty heavily with racism / multinationalism and kind of how that plays into it. Now, once you get past the marketing failure, we can then begin to discuss like these other controversial elements and to why is Disney pushing this stuff, and it's really quite strange. So, beginning with the non-binary component. So, well, let me even back up before then. Okay, so a brief synopsis of the movie follows Ember Lumen and Wade Ripple, a fire elemental and a water elemental, respectively, and their unlikely romance. Because, of course, fire and water being polar opposites, like there's an inherent drama that is set up in that. Now, the movie is set in Elemental City, wherein they coexist with water elementals, fire elementals, earth elementals, and air elementals coexist together in Elemental City. Now, like I said, nobody's heard of this movie until it's released, so that's predominantly why it flopped. So one of the controversial elements that the movie purports to have is the Disney Pixar's first non-binary character. The non-binary character appears to be this individual, whose name is Lake and goes by they, them pronouns. Now, as far as I understand, Lake is a secondary character in the film. However, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people are ditching Disney. And Disney, by the end of this, and if you're interested to know out there, any company out there that wants to make money making movies or shows, I'm going to give you the secret to that toward the end of this video. But this is one of the reasons that people are unsubscribing from Disney Plus and not showing up to Disney movies. Marketing aside, people do not want to take their children to a movie where their children are going to be inherently confused after it's over with. Look, there are two genders, two sexes, they're the same thing. They are inextricably linked. Some people are like, oh, sex and gender are the same thing. I reject the premise. Being male, a biologically male, which is a ridiculous term, but being male and being a man are inextricably linked. Being a female and being a woman also inextricably linked, and there's only two of them. Now, people like to try and say, oh, gender is a spectrum. It's how you identify. Those two foundational components, being a man, it is then built upon certain elements and cultural things where a Chinese man, a European man, an African man, all different types of men will certainly have typically universally common characteristics that will unite men, so to speak, across no matter what. In the same way that There's no culture on planet Earth where laughing is like actually that they're very sad while they're doing that. A smile is generally associated with being happiness. Crying is associated with the emotion of sorrow. Those things are hardwired into us in the same way that what we identify as being masculine and manly is hardwired into males. They're inextricably linked. Similarly, what we typically identify with, being feminine is hardwired into women, hardwired into females. What we identify as being a woman. Now, what's different is that some societies, and there's emotional components, or there's behavioral components, and even things like dress, how you wear your hair, do you put makeup on, things like that. All of that are, if I'm using the analogy of comparing this stuff to a house, those are the window dressings. It doesn't fundamentally change the structure of the home, but they are indeed window dressings. And so if you're an adult and you want to dress as the opposite sex, by all means, it's a free country. Do what you want to do. I've got no trouble with that. But to deny that there are men and there are women, and the fact that men is inextricably linked to being a male and being a woman is inextricably linked to being a female is just ridiculous. So the idea of inserting or trying to insert non-binary characters really comes from two sources. Number one, Disney does have a high echelon of decision-making and creatives that are openly activists for this sort of, call it a non-heteronormativity sort of activism. They openly push for this stuff. A lot of those individuals are hired and retained because of DE&I or DIE, diversity, inclusivity, and equity programs and departments, which are themselves in existence because of Disney's desire to comply with ESG, which is a environment and social governance score, which is allows major corporations access to government funding, along with many other things, as long as they comply with certain environment and social governance scores. One of the many things that ESG is meant to push is this kind of stuff, non-heteronormative behavior. So, and both of those things are outgrowths of, actually, I want to get into it. Stay tuned. I'm going to have some more talks on DE&I or DIE, however you want to say it, along with ESG and kind of how that stuff plays into effect. So tune in later for that. But long story short, these things are equivalent in nature to how the Chinese Communist Party or the Soviet communists before them had commissars or party members that were made to be in companies in order to make sure that these companies complied with the state line. That is essentially this. It's essentially the same thing, permutated into now this diversity and inclusivity component. We'll get into that later. Nevertheless, whenever you're taking your kids to this stuff, you are taking your kids to a Disney movie not only to be entertained, but ideally, if you're making a movie for children, the movie should explain to kids how to operate in, 98 to 90%, 99% of how they're going to experience regular life. Like, if I was going to explain physics to you, I wouldn't start with some esoteric component of quantum physics, like way down in the weeds. I'd start you with the basics. And so in the same way that I'm explaining life to children, I would start with regular life, right? Or at the very least, start with, hey, there are boys and there are girls. That's the basics. That's 99.99% of what young men and women are going to be dealing with in their adolescent years in particular. Is that to mean to say that there aren't individuals who identify differently? No, not at all. But that's an esoteric topic that we can get into, and it's certainly being overblown by today's activism. And at the end of the day, it's confusing children. Like, why? My guy, why? Here's how you make money. And if you're out there and you want to start another company, here's how. I'm going to give you the secret. Are you ready? This is a secret sauce. This is how you can continue to make tons of money and remain culturally dominant for generations to come. If you're making a children's movie targeted toward young girls want to be princesses and they want to win Prince Charming, or they want to find Prince Charming. Point blank. That's it. You can point to virtually every Disney princess movie and why that has been so iconically popular, and it's for those two reasons. And I know everyone's like, but Frozen's the most successful Disney movie. Shut up. Get out of my face, dude. Frozen marketed really well, and they have that godforsaken catchy song. That's why every little girl that sees Frozen, they're not talking about, well, actually, Elsa was the first Disney princess who didn't have like a Prince Charming come and save her. It's about sisterly love, which I'm not mad about, by the way. But if you're coming at me with that, it's like, no. Little girls that go to see Frozen, you know what they do? Let it go, for like ever after that. So get out of my face with, oh, dude, you're Frozen. Is Frozen? No. Every Disney princess movie outside of Frozen has been either a combination of the songs, and I want to be a Disney princess. Period. End of discussion. And you want to throw Moana, you want to throw Brave. Okay. I see little girls wanting to dress up as Elsa because of the song, probably. Elsa, Anna, whomever. And I see them wanting to be Disney princesses. Cinderella is still a winner. Snow White, still a winner. Even some of the more recent Disney, Tiana, winner. Same concept, winner. Moving on. If you want to market a movie to young men, they need to be some kind of warrior, and they need to be slaying dragons, and they need to get the girl at the end of the day. That's it. That's what men want to do. It's hardwired into us. That's what we want to do. Now, I'm not saying you can't tell stories that aren't in that nature, but if you tell stories that are directly contradictory to those fundamental components, you're wrong. You're off your, not from a moral standpoint necessarily, but you're off your rocker. People don't care. Adults may care. People who are activists may care. But when you're talking about kids, you can sense that stuff. Young ladies love to be delighted in. They love to win Prince Charming. They love to look beautiful. I have a 2-year-old daughter. My 2-year-old daughter loves 3 things. She loves daddy's attention, particularly mine. She loves my wife as well, don't get me wrong, but like whenever daddy's like, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so pretty, she lights up like a Christmas tree. She likes that to be delighted in. She likes to dress up. I never taught her how to do that. I didn't teach her any of that stuff. I didn't try to goad her into going and picking out pink and purple and all these brightly colored and flowing clothes. I didn't teach her any of that. She found that on her own. Period. She found that stuff on her own. Now, she's 2. We'll talk about Prince Charming a little bit down the road, but I am not mistaken not mistaken at all, or not, what's the word? I'm not oblivious to the fact that will be coming. We'll say it that way. My little man, he's 8 months old, this kid. 8 months old. Firstly, even in 8 months, fundamentally a different human being than my little girl in terms of how he acts as a baby versus how she acted as a baby. Completely different. My little man, you know what my little man likes to do? My little man likes to destroy stuff. My little man, I hand him something. What does he do? With all of his little force, he grabs it, grips it with all of his little strength, and bites the crap out of it. That's what he does. That's my little man. Am I saying that if a little girl is particularly destructive, that, oh, actually, that's a little boy in a girl's body? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Aggression, that kind of things, typically outgrowth of being wired to be a little boy or a little girl. It's totally different. My little girl also, without our prompting, super interested in babies. My little man doesn't care at all. My little girl's like that stuff since she was young. See, as soon as she could crawl, fascinated with being around people, being around us. My little man, he's grabbing toys, he's grabbing balls, the like inanimate object, not the genitals. He's grabbing all these things, he's playing with things. Kids are fundamentally different. Disney, any company out there willing to make some money. You want to make money, you little boys who slay dragons and win girls, there you go. Little girls who look beautiful and win Prince Charming at the end of it. And like I said, for all of you out there, but well, I don't think a woman should have should be dependent upon a man for her identity. Okay, I'm not saying that she has to be. I would point you to characters like Princess Leia, who is not dependent on Han Solo for identity. Princess Leia is very much her own person in the original trilogy, very much a quote-unquote strong female character in her very own right. And if you read any of the previously now scrapped extended universe of Star Wars, you'll find out that Leia ended up becoming a Jedi in her own right. Is now that since we're talking about Disney and all that other stuff, and there have been tons of strong female characters who have been generally loved by the fan base, by men and women alike, who have still been distinctly feminine. So I'm not saying that you have to be. Every single story has to be a young boy slaying dragons, winning the girl in that order, or that every story has to be a young girl or a girl looking beautiful and winning Prince Charming or getting Prince Charming. But what I am saying is that if you start making stuff directly contradictory to those elements, to fundamental core understandings of what human beings, what girls and boys are, you're out of your gourd. It's a losing battle. That is part of the reason why Disney is sinking. They're continuing to push this extra nonsense, and it's just not working. I'm going to leave you there. I could continue ranting on this topic all day long, but I'm just going to stop you right there. Like I said, folks, thank you for joining me today. If you've liked this video, please throw it a thumbs up both on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter. You can follow us on all social media at Badass Patriots Co. That's Badass Patriots Co. All one word at virtually every social media. Also, you can slide on over to badasspatriotco.com and grab some sweet pro-America merch. The company's name is Badass Patriot, but ladies and gentlemen, if you want to, this one says One Nation Under God. We've got tons of merch that does not necessarily have badass stripped across the chest. So if you, if you got church to attend, or maybe you want to be a little more subtle, by all means, you are welcome, and we'll holler at you later. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time.